We are exactly 1 week away from Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. It's SoFi Stadium, home of the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams becoming just the second team to play at home for the championship following Tampa Bay last year. We all know what that did for the Bucs, and Sean McVay would love to have it do the same for his team. But Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals will not be an easy out. They've upset the odds all the way through this season and look to cap it with a first ever Lombardi trophy. And here to give us an early look at wagering on that game, two-time Super Bowl champion Bryant McFadden and our wagering expert Todd Fuhrman. B-Mac, that first week between the conference title game and the Super Bowl is an interesting one. It's like an added bye week, but then with 10 times the pressure at the other end of it. What was your mental state 1 week out from the Super Bowl?
I was excited to be able to participate in the biggest game of my life. In my entire professional career, I played in 3 Super Bowls. We won 2. My first one was like, wow, I'm here, right? The moment was big, but it didn't seem that big because I thought this is something that I was supposed to do every year because that's all I knew coming into the National Football League. But the week of prep leading to the actual Super Bowl, man, it was an unbelievable experience. The way we handled that process, we handled it like professionals. Our coaches put us in the best situations to be successful. And one thing that I'm a bit concerned with, guys, and Todd, maybe you can follow me up on this one as well based on your Super Bowl experience when it comes to betting on the big games. I played in 3 ball games, right, in the Super Bowl. Every Super Bowl that I participated in, we always flew out to that destination on Sunday. I'm a bit concerned with the Cincinnati Bengals flying out on Tuesday, and here's why. When you fly out earlier, you have an opportunity to get acclimated to your new practice facilities, your new regimens, the training room, the weight room, things like that. You get an opportunity to go there and see exactly where you will be going throughout the week, meeting rooms, things like that. When we flew out on Sundays, Monday was a day that we scheduled everything that we needed to do with the facility where we go there, get a workout, understand what we will be doing and how we will be doing it. When Cincinnati flies out on Tuesday, it's safe to say the first time they actually get a chance to really get accustomed and adjusted to everything will be Wednesday, which is a work day. So sometimes coaches can kind of change up the regimen a little too much. That's a sign of being a little tight. But for us, we kept everything as loose as possible. We wanted to make sure we felt the same way we felt in Pittsburgh if we were traveling to Tampa, if we traveled to Detroit, if we traveled to Dallas. We didn't want to change too much of the regimen because we didn't want to make this game bigger than what it was already is. And that's something that I'm a bit concerned with Cincinnati.
Well, B-Mac, the fact you got 2 rings shows that approach was a successful one. Todd, as a professional bettor, I mean, this is like Christmas for you. How do you approach wagering on the Super Bowl a week from the game?
I really thought you guys were going to ask me what my experience was like leading up to the Super Bowl and how I went about trying to contain my emotions, because I think back to a 14-year-old Todd Fuhrman and what it was like playing in a state championship, but obviously nowhere close to the expectations, energy, and excitement you'll have here. But you're right, Jeremy, being a bettor on this game, there are a myriad of ways that you can try and approach it. And it's not just the side and the total with the top line markets. It's not just the traditional player props that we break down week in, week out throughout the season. It's every conceivable angle known to man. And it's not just even on the football side. If you feel you have an edge with a college basketball game and a soccer match overseas, an NHL game, you can find a way to translate your edge into betting the big game with the myriad of cross-sport props that are offered at Caesars. So for me, I typically will look at that side and total when that number came out a week ago, and you try and figure out, okay, where do I think this market is going to go? Do I think I'm able to extract even a sliver of value? Then I typically gravitate towards looking at some of the math props. Will the second half be higher scoring than the first? Looking at some of the scoring trends we've seen historically and knowing that these games start off slow before they pick up momentum in the second half, and then diving into the X's and O's, trying to gauge which player could surprise people, which are the players that are overvalued given the recent data points we have for them. So you have to go into the Super Bowl with a game plan as a sports bettor. Otherwise, the entire experience can get completely overwhelming.
Yeah, the Bengals have 4.5 plus 4.5 with the total at 48.5. As you look at things now, what is the value play at this point then, Todd?
Yeah, for me, when I dig into some of these numbers, you mentioned the line sitting at 4.5. It did open as low as 3.5. I'm going to keep tabs on the Rams money line. That's the angle that I want to attack. And typically when you're talking about a standalone game like this, the betting trends over the years don't lie. Folks that want to bet the Rams are going to come in, they'll lay the points on the favorite, and people that want to make a case for the underdog, because it's the final football game of the season, they don't back the Bengals or any underdog plus the points, they're going to back them on the money line. So what that does for sportsbooks is it puts them in a bit of a bind. They have to drop the money line that it doesn't accurately reflect the point spread. So typically, in the 48 hours leading up to kickoff, you may get a depressed money line in favor of the Rams, maybe somewhere in that $1.85, $1.90 range that gives you a chance to pounce. Now, as far as betting markets that are available now, I'm looking at the first half under. History doesn't lie in what we've seen recently, given these games start so slow before they pick up a little bit of momentum in the second half. You've seen a ton of low-scoring first quarters in the past, and even a team like the Patriots, who made it a habit of being here every single February, or what it felt like with Tom Brady. I mean, they scored one touchdown in the first quarter the entire time he was under center there. So I'll look at under 23.5 in the first half. I love the conservative tendencies we've seen from both of these head coaches as well. Sean McVay is talked about as being this outside-the-box thinker, but he's been willing to punt on 4th and short. He had the familiarity with Zach Taylor. Bryant Callahan, I should say, knows Matthew Stafford from their time in Detroit. I think we're talking about a slugfest, at least early on.
Well, for me, guys, just like most casual bettor, I've been going back and forth, looking at numbers, looking at game film based on trying to understand what I potentially will see next Sunday. And right now, I'm taking the Rams laying 4.5, and here's why. This is a very, very difficult matchup on both sides of the football for the Cincinnati Bengals. We know about their struggles offensively in trying to protect Joe Burrow. He was the most sacked quarterback in the National Football League, and don't forget, he got sacked 9 times against the Tennessee Titans. Granted, they won that ball game. Playing against the Rams defense, right now, this defense is probably playing the best football they played the entire season. Now we're starting to see Von Miller show up. Leonard Floyd has always been there. Aaron Donald has always been there. But now you get a proven potential Hall of Fame player playing some of his best football, not to mention they're playing against a unit that has had issues protecting their quarterback. It's going to be a very, very difficult task for Joe Burrow because I don't believe his offensive linemen can stand the task for 4 quarters. And then when you transition to the defensive matchup for Cincinnati going against the Rams offense, listen, adding Cam Akers to the Rams offense has provided an element of physical nature, a physical mentality. He does something to their offense that puts them more in bully ball than anything, not to mention seeing what OBJ has been able to provide as well, along with Cooper Kupp and the other pass catchers. I believe Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams will win this ball game by at least 6 or 7 points based on how well they've been playing and based on some of the Achilles heels for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm taking the Rams right now today. I don't expect to see that change unless we see some line movement, but 4.5, it seems like a large number, especially looking at how well the Cincinnati Bengals have been playing. But I'm willing to roll the dice and roll with the Rams.
Mac, you mentioned a number of players there. So when you look at the player props right now, what is the prop or props that catch your eye?
Yo, one thing I've learned as an adult when it comes to gambling, you stay with the hot trend. I go out to Vegas, visit Todd, play blackjack. I don't leave the table when I'm hot. When I play roulette, I keep it on red. It always hits. I'm not turning my back. OBJ has been a guy, player prop-wise, I've been following and putting money on the entire playoff season. The first round game against Arizona, anytime catch-up, cashed in. Second round, over receiving yards, cashed in. Last week, over receiving yards, cashed in. Guess what? I'm riding with OBJ once again over his receiving yard total of 64.5. This guy has emerged to be a big-time contributor for their offense. And with all of the attention that Cooper Kupp has been receiving, deserving so, OBJ has been taking advantage of these opportunities. And you guys have been following me on HQ throughout the entire playoffs. OBJ has been my player prop guy. I'm not turning my back on him right now. I'm taking over 64.5 receiving yards, Odell Beckham Jr.
I like where you're going with that, B-Mac. You look at his productivity last week, 9 catches, more than 100 yards. It was one of the sharper over bets we saw come in on any of the receivers that were playing in that NFC Championship. No reason to believe that changes, knowing Sean McVay has 2 weeks to scheme him open with the potential absence of Tyler Higbee, one of the key critical cogs for the Rams offense. I'm not going to look at an individual player prop, though. I'm going to look at a scoring prop. And I want to encourage everybody when they're betting these things to make sure they read all of the fine print. So this is directly from Caesars, and it's the first scoring play for the Cincinnati Bengals. Not first scoring play of the game, but just for the Bengals. Field goal should be available there at plus $1.40 or maybe even a shade higher. When you look at Cincinnati so far this postseason, they've only scored 5 touchdowns in 3 games, which is a little bit counterintuitive to all the narrative around Joe Burrow and what he's meant to the offense. But when you consider Zach Taylor making his first trip to the postseason, he's been more than comfortable setting for field goals, even in 4th and short. The red zone offense for the Bengals has really bogged down as well. You haven't seen an ability for them to score inside the 10-yard line on goal-to-go situations. And knowing this is a Rams defensive line that's going to be able to boss around the Bengals in the trenches, I think they have to be comfortable if you're Cincinnati and getting points in any old manner of fashion in this particular game. The fact that I made this thing right around a pick 'em and I'm able to get plus 140, way too much math opportunity to pass up. Bengals' first scoring play of the Super Bowl will be a field goal.
Evan McPherson, a good pick, and the Bengals Twitter account always says that's why you draft a kicker. Okay, outside of the players, we have all kinds of wacky props. We're going to talk about those all week long. One of those wacky props is the coin toss. Todd, sell me on a pick for the coin toss.
Tails never fails, Jeremy, until it does. So I'm taking heads here on this particular prop. When you look at handicapping the coin toss, you can go back through the 50-plus iterations of the Super Bowl, but we know it's an isolated incident. And while the folks at Caesars won't be happy to hear me say this, my one piece of advice when you're handicapping the coin toss, bet this particular prop with a buddy. Don't lay juice. Let somebody take your action. Make it even money. It's hard enough to pick the winner as is. It's even harder if you're laying $1.03 to do so. Tails never fails, though, until it does. Heads is my pick on the coin toss.
Okay, Todd, you've got a coin. So I want to see you flip.
I'm going to flip it right now?
Yeah.
Let's see what we got. Heads it is. And I drop it here, and it's a nice silver dollar for you. Jeremy, I looked around for some loonies and toonies to try and find, but I didn't have any accessible at my desk.
Appreciate that, Todd. Good stuff. We'll be hearing from you guys all week long as the countdown to Super Bowl 56 begins in earnest. Thanks for giving us an early look, BMAC and Todd Fuhrman. Recapping their picks, of course, they're all in on the early part of this game. Todd liking the game pick as the Rams on the money line. He likes that first half under as well. BMAC likes the Rams. The top prop differ here. Todd likes the Bengals' first scoring play to be a field goal from Evan McPherson at plus 150. BMAC's been riding with Odell Beckham Jr. the whole playoffs. He's not going to deviate in the championship game. He likes him to go over his 64.5 yards. BMAC, we didn't get a pick for him on the coin toss, but he's taken heads along with Todd. For more Super Bowl perspective, be sure to check out All Things Covered with BMAC and Patrick Peterson, the fellows discussing everything to do with playing in the big game, along with player interviews and analysis of every aspect. Only the guys who can play it can provide it. Download and follow All Things Covered wherever you get your podcast audio. You can also watch them on YouTube.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.